Hello everybody. I am pouring live tonight. This will be my last pour.
I'm not seeing that you're live. Did you see it on your phone?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, tell everybody I say hi. There we go.
So, this is my last pour tonight before I clear everything out of the house. We've made, I don't know, 5-6 trips with a truckload of paintings and carloads and bits and pieces, and so I have the very final things that I do my YouTubing with, my camera equipment, and my last bottles of deco art and tube paint. And so everything this is going to be the final night for my YouTubing at home. Hey Johnette, hey Mabel, hey Debbie, hey Melissa. Thank you for joining. So I'm just going to give everybody a few minutes to kind of jump in. And hey Nisa, I'm glad you made it. I know you said you had to work today. Hey Carol. Hey Audrey. Hey Gina. Marilyn. Hey Jane. I don't know what I'm going to do with no paint in the house. It might feel weird. It might feel like I'm lost without my paint in my house. I'll still have markers and drawing pads and things around, but the majority of my stuff will be in the shop. Like yesterday we made a trip and I left my laptop in the office, so we had to go back and get my laptop. So it's going to be tricky. Hey CL, Luba, C Panglish, hey Tammy, hey Marie, hey Lynn. Thank you so much for joining. So the other day I did a painting and it was kind of modern looking, not my typical thing. I'll show you what I did. I think I just posted the video today. So this is the dried look. This is very much modern looking, and I want it to be a little bit masculine and kind of modern. So if you can tell, there is some silver in there. It's not sealed, but it's dry. So there's a silvery color, and then I used a metallic red, which is the brighter red, but you can't really tell right now that it's metallic, and maybe once it's sealed it will look metallic. But I did this with no silicone, and I really enjoyed doing it. Hey Kelly. Puddin' Tame, hey to your cat.
But it's dry.
Hey Puddin' Tame.
Silvery color and
hey Becky and Johnette and Donna and Gina. So yeah, this is my inspiration, and since I did this one, I want to do one more. Maybe one more, who knows. But this time I'm using the same colors, but I'm going to use silicone in it. And so I'm going to put my black base coat on here real quick. And I wanted to explain to you about blacks. A lot of blacks are not like a really, really dark black, and this is the case. In this one, I used Craft Smart Black, which is, you know, what you get from Michael's, Walmart. I think Walmart has it. It's the cheap brand. It works just like every other paint, so it doesn't matter about it being a craft paint, but I want to just make note to you that it is not a black. It has a grayish cast to it. So it's not a true black, and what I typically use is my Artist Loft Flow Acrylic. Let's see, Gina, I'm trying to look at comments too. Hey Gabby and Ann. Hey Alexander. Hey, Bevy, Marie, Kelly. And Gina says love. Scooter, Barbara, Leanne, Ann Devonish, Robin, Debbie, Jose, Chris. Howdy, howdy, howdy. So I just want to tell you that the Flow acrylic in the Artist Loft brand, which comes from Michael's, it's a quart and it's $10, but usually you can get it online from the store a little bit cheaper. But this is a really black black. Now the Craft Smart Black is a grayish black, so it's not as deep as this other black. So the one thing to note is when you're doing a painting and you need to go back later and do touch-ups, you have to remember which black you use. So I have to make a note that I used Craft Smart Black on this one, because if I touch it up with the Artist Loft Black, this is going to be blacker than this and it's going to show up. Hey Susan from the UK, and Eileen, and Bevy, you use the Craft Smart or you use Artist Loft? I'm not sure which one. Thank you, Gina. You love the modern painting. Okay, I get it now. Hey, Lewis. So, I've got my skim coat. It's a little bit thicker, but it's a skim coat of black on here. And we're going to do some fun stuff tonight. I'm going to do this one, which is going to be another kind of, I think I'll do a ribbon pour like I did with the other one, except for this time it has silicone, so we just want to see what happens. Also, I did a little bit different mixture with my paints, and I went last night and I binge watched Waterfall Acrylics. She has some gorgeous pours where she gets these massive cells, and she's very patient with it. But I binge watched her last night, multiple videos of hers. Hey Rose. Hey Patty. Thank you about the swiped feathers. I'm going to do swiping here after this one. So in her pouring mixture, she uses glue all, and I do not like glue all, but I decided tonight I'm going to give it a try. So these paints that I have mixed up actually have a mixture of 50-50 glue all with water, and then she doesn't measure things exactly. She just gives you a guesstimate. So I think I did like 4 ounces of glue all, 4 ounces of water. I did a couple of ounces of this Liquitex Gloss Medium. And she said you could use Floetrol or whatever. So I used this because I actually had some and I never use it. So I used that. I used my bottle of glue all. I did the water. And then I added another ounce or so of GAC 800, which I typically do not use either. But it's supposed to prevent cracking and crazing. So we're going to see how this works. And so I've got my paint mixed up, and when you mix it, she said she likes for it to pour off her stick and kind of sit on top for about a half a second or so, and then it sinks down. So that's kind of pretty much the way all my paints are mixed, pretty much the way I like it, what I call a warm honey consistency. It's very creamy, it's not watery where it drips, and it's not so thick that it sticks to your stick. So yeah, the glue all thing, this is experimental tonight. I have no idea if it will be a success or not, because I typically do not use glue at all. I use typically Floetrol or Owatrol 1:1. So this one is a different ratio, and I'm just playing with it to see what happens, because I really enjoyed watching Waterfall Acrylics and the way she did hers. She has a very unique style. So hey, Everyday Art by Brittany. Gabby, you only use glue all and water with your paint, no Floetrol or Owatrol. And when dry, my paints crack a little. So yeah, and that's the trouble I've had before with glue, is that it cracks. But I also sell my paintings, and I'm not totally confident with the glue mixture, but I know that people sell their paintings with glue in them all the time. So anyway, we've got this canvas that's ready to go. This is a 12 by 24 canvas, just to let you know the length of it. And I've got my cup that I'm going to fill up, and I'm just going to, no, I'm not doing a cup. I changed my mind. I'm doing a ribbon pour, and I'm going to stick just a little bit of my Spot On Treadmill lubricant, which is what I used in all my colors. I used a drop per ounce of paint mixture. So these cups are about halfway full. They're 3, 4, 5 ounces. So I used 3 to 5 drops of silicone. I even put it in the black, and I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I did. But I'm going to put a little silicone in the container here, and I'm just going to kind of like grease it up a little bit, is what I would say. And I also have white, and the white that I have is my typical mixture of, you know, Floetrol or Owatrol 1-to-1 with Artist Loft Flow Acrylic White.
Pat said she missed the name of the person you were talking about.
The lady that I was talking about, I think her name is Kathy. Her YouTube channel is Waterfall Acrylics. And she does beautiful, beautiful pours that have these nice, large, juicy cells. So I'm going to put some silver, and the silver that I used is the same mixture as I did the other day. It is Crafter's Closet Silver from Dollar General. So this is a $1 bottle paint, and I really actually like it a lot, but it's a little light on the color side. So then I had a steel color, and it's by Handmade Modern from Target, but it's kind of like a pewter color. So it's metallic, but it's a darker silver.
Eileen Jake wants
Hey,
to
Kathy.
know if you like treadmill better than coconut milk.
Do I like treadmill better than coconut? No, but you never know. I keep treadmill lubricant in all my squeeze bottles that I do all my swiping with. So I do use treadmill lubricant, but it's kept in the squeeze bottles, and I shake it, and those are generally smaller cells. So tonight I've got treadmill lubricant in my paints, and we're going to see what kind of cells they produce, because OGX always gives me nice big cells. So it's been a while that I've done a pour with treadmill lubricant straight into the freshly mixed paint. Karen, yes, her name is Karen, not Kathy. That was a mistake on my part. And I'm just reading the comments to make sure I can keep up with everybody. So this is Artist Loft, and this is deep red. And then this is the metallic red, which is just a little bit brighter. I don't know if you can tell the difference. It's a little brighter on this side. I'm going to use a little bit more black, a little more silver. I like doing these ribbon pours. They're kind of fun. It's just something different. It's a little bit more on the modern side, I would say, and kind of unpredictable, but any kind of fluid art is pretty much unpredictable. I'm going to actually turn it this way so it's a more narrow spout. And here we go. So when I'm getting near the end of my paint in my container, I slow it down so that I can keep a steady flow of paint. It's really pretty in here. I love red. It's not, right now I don't even have any red in my home, but I absolutely love red. And see, the cells are growing, and what she does is she just lets it sit for a few minutes. So that's what I'm going to do, is just let it sit for a few minutes. Hey Janet, hey Linda, Patty, Debbie Jagel, Heatherwood Studio, Waterfall Acrylics. Yes, that's correct. And her name is Karen. Hey, Eileen. I also, believe it or not, I do own a torch instead of my heat gun. This is just to pop bubbles. So there's some neat stuff going on, and I like how the white is kind of peeking through here. So I'm going to tilt it just a little bit. I'm going to try to leave some black negative space on either side.
What cleans up better, OGX or treadmill oil?
I wouldn't say that either one cleans up one better than the other. They both are just, I think I have actually less cleanup with OGX, but I also use OGX very sparingly. Like with treadmill lubricant, I put a drop per ounce of paint mixture. With OGX, I use a drop per cup. I just use 1 drop per cup of paint, whether it's 3 ounces or 8 ounces. So with OGX, I don't use as much, so therefore I don't have as much residue. And with this having metallics in it, it may totally react differently than if it were just straight out paint, so I just wanted to make note of that too. So I'm just kind of tilting it back and forth a little bit. And as far as cracking goes, yeah, I mean, I've got some paintings when I was first starting out with pouring. I have a few paintings that cracked, I think because I used spray paint actually, or didn't wait long enough before I sprayed it. So, and yes, I used to put crackle finishes on furniture. So Everyday Art by Brittany Gunter. You're 45 minutes from Fayetteville. That's awesome. Then you can come pour with me at my studio in Sanford. I'm opening up on December 1st in Sanford downtown. Gonna have my grand opening. So I would love to meet you, Brittany. So I like this pretty well. So now what I'm gonna do is take this little bit that's left in the container. I've got some, and I'm just going to add a little funky tiny ribbon. Just making it kind of what I say more modern looking. I got one drip, well, I dripped some crumbs from it. I don't know what that's from. Got one drip there. I'm going to remove it with my finger. And I just moved the black and it'll scoot back in. So I'm going to... Sanford is between Fayetteville and Raleigh. So I live on the north side of Fayetteville, and Sanford is about 30 minutes from me, and it's kind of in between here and Raleigh. That's kind of the way I look at it. So yeah, Bevy, I use OGX. If I want to do a fresh pour where I'm using it straight out of the cups, I generally love to use OGX, because you get the nice big cells. But in my squeeze bottles, which I am going to use on another painting tonight, that has treadmill lubricant. And I shake it, and I want actually a little bit smaller cells, because that's the pretty part about the swiping with intention, and you do it artistically, and you have smaller cells that lace over each other, I like that effect. So that's why I use the silicone. But I throw leftover paint that has OGX in it if it's the same color. I'll put it in the bottle with the other paint that has treadmill lubricant so they get intermixed. So it works both ways. Hey Debbie, a road trip to Sanford? Yes, that would be great. And I think Greg is putting the address in for the grand opening. But so this is actually pretty cool. The white has popped through. There's not any white down here, but that's okay. I kind of like it. I'm going to tilt it just a little bit. And this is also fun to do if you're a little bit more new to painting, doing the acrylic flow painting. You're always on the safer side to use black and white and one bright color or so. And then you see what you get. You get this huge contrast of colors, which is really, really kind of cool. And another thing that you can do, which I kind of like when I want more of a modern feel, this is a bamboo skewer. It's been used many times, but it's just a long bamboo skewer. And you can take it and you can go through your paint and just do a quick line that almost looks like antennas or something coming out from the painting. So I kind of like to do that every so often. And I'm going to put just a little bit of red back on here where I went into the red paint. But I think I'm kind of finished with this one. What do y'all think? Hey Patricia from Canada. Hey Sharon from UK. Lorraine. Thank you so much for popping in and watching. So I think I kind of like this the way it is. So it pretty much kind of acted like what would have happened if I had done my regular recipe and used OGX. This is kind of, I think, what it would have looked like. So it's kind of similar. So I like it though. And I'm curious with the glue in it how it will dry. That will be kind of the determining factor if it's a success or not. If it doesn't crack, I will consider it a success. But there's some neat cell action going on there. That right there is kind of my favorite part. When I've done red, black, and white pours, I actually love them because you get that bold contrast of color. Red and black are so gorgeous together. But then you can put any color with black. So there's that one. I'm going to move it out of the way. Rinsing my hands here. Okay, so that was, I enjoyed doing that. I hope y'all enjoyed it. That was just a really simple one. My next one is going to be the swipe technique, which I think everybody loves to see me do. So I wanted to do a larger one that is 20 by 20. And I'm just moving everything out of the way. Let me rinse my, this is a Wilton icing fondant spreader. I got it at Walmart, and it's also on my Amazon link that's always below my videos. It's a plastic tool and it's great for spreading your base coat on your canvas really quick. Okay, I'm going to do the puppy pad thing. Also, this plastic tray I got recently from Amazon. It's a tray liner for a dog kennel. So So it's called a puppy tray liner.
Eileen says, I bet you'll end up keeping paint in your house.
I don't know.
Mylena says finally gets to catch you live.
That's awesome. So you can also use a washing machine tray, and I've got one of those in my Amazon link too. This time I'm using, this is what I've bought so far, and I may get me a washing machine liner as well. But I'm just going to put down this liner so I don't get black paint on my next painting. But there's some pretty drips over here. See, the other day I saved my drips off my butcher paper. So here's the drips from the other day, which are really pretty. And then here's some that I did like a little dirty pour. So the metallic, it shows the metallic and the black and red and white, but those are my leftover paint skins that I always keep. So for those of you that didn't see it, this was my first original one that I did that was kind of my inspiration with no silicone. So I did this one first, and then I just did the one that I painted. So you could just see the difference. And this is dry, but it's not sealed. And when you seal it, it will make everything pop out again.
And Gina says that if you look at it really good, she said earlier, that says love in the painting.
Oh, really?
Yes. So.
Oh, it kind of does, doesn't it? Thank you, Mylene. Happy Thanksgiving to you, too. So, yeah, this is a kennel tray, and then I've got my butcher paper, which I get it in a roll. So here's my roll of butcher paper. It's 30 inches across. And it's 50 feet long, so it lasts quite a while. And it is in my Amazon link, and if you can find it at Hobby Lobby, they have it for about $16. And so, you can use your coupon if you're at Hobby Lobby.
Debbie Farmer would like to know, how do you store your skins?
My skins are stacked up on each other, but they have butcher paper between them. Because if you don't put butcher paper, your skins will stick to each other and you cannot get them apart to save your life. So they're just stored with between butcher paper or wax paper. You have to have some kind of a paper that won't stick to them. So this is my Artist Loft white paint. So everything that I'm going to do on this painting is a 1-to-1 ratio with Owatrol or Floetrol, and you can use either one. Here's Owatrol Easy Flow, which I use quite often because they sponsor me for it, and I actually prefer it over Floetrol, but it's more expensive, it's harder to get. You can only get it from owatrolusa.com or from Amazon, but it's the same thing as Floetrol, it's just the European version. So everything is 1-to-1 ratio. Everything in my squeeze bottles is 1-to-1 with Floetrol. And it has the silicone drops in it, like a 1 drop per ounce of paint mixture. And I put too much paint on this canvas. I learned the other day, I did one called Harvest Blessing. And I put the white on pretty thick. And what happens when you put it on so thick, it makes your paint, when you swipe, it makes the paint spread out more. So I actually have too much paint on this. I'm going to see if I can scoop my tray and get some back into my cup here. Hold on 1 second.
Do you need help?
No.
You're... Are you using Owatrol or Floetrol?
It can be Owatrol or Floetrol, either one. It has to be wet.
I was just going to cover it.
So I have, and also what I'm standing on are those rubber exercise mats. And that is also in my Amazon link. You get 6 of them for, I think, about $24. And they are really comfortable to stand on. And, thank you. And the paint wipes off of them really well. I'm super surprised about that. I've got to show you what one looks like.
Mylene is wondering what kind of glue you're using.
Elmer's Glue All. So let me show y'all a piece real quick. Here is one of the pieces, and I've got 6 of them that I'm standing on. So they make a grid that's like 24 feet square. And it's made out of rubber, so you can see the thickness there. And you put them together like puzzle pieces. And it's super comfortable for your feet. And the paint will wipe off of them, which is really neat. So that's just a little additional thing I like to share with you, just about comfort level. I can stand in my sock feet. I don't have to have shoes on.
What's the name of the tool you're using again?
This is a Wilton Easy Glide. It's an icing and fondant spreader. It's in the link, and there's some black I just swiped on my canvas. Ah! Get back off of there. So I have no idea what I'm getting ready to paint. I was curious if y'all would rather see something more Thanksgiving related or more Christmas related. I think I'm going to do some flowers, blowing flowers or something, and doing some leaves so you can see how I do my leaves and so forth. So what do you think you would be interested in seeing? I'm going to zoom you in just a little bit. I think I was thinking about a wreath, like a circular pattern.
Tina Presley said Christmas wreath. Debbie Farmer says poinsettia. Barbara
Ooh,
Hopping,
a poinsettia. Ooh, I like that. I like that.
Mylene says I always love the swipe techniques.
So let me pull out my bottles.
Christmas wreath. Poinsettias with leaves.
I've got a darker green. These are Deco Art colors. This is a festive green. I've got my sour apple. And
fall colors, poinsettias, wreaths.
okay. Well, I think we're going to do a Christmassy poinsettia wreath and see how that turns out. That's a good suggestion. I like that. I got some little pieces of fuzz or animal hair or something. I'm just trying to get them out. But I've got plenty of white paint. You basically just need a skim coat of white on your canvas. And that's all. It does not have to be thick. You just want something for your paint to flow on when you swipe. I could probably even do this with a dry canvas, but it's just to me it's a little bit easier with it wet. So here is True Red. I'm going to pull out Orange Flame. And some yellow. And this is kind of an emerald green color. I'm going to pull that one out. And I may use some metallics too. So those are what I'm going to use.
Mylene says her first flower swipe was inspired by you. And Patricia Morgan says, how about a Christmas cactus?
That would be cool too. I don't know if I can do a cactus and poinsettias. Well, I could, really. I just don't know exactly what a Christmas cactus looks like. That's the problem. Let me think here. Let me pull a Christmas cactus up on my phone real quick.
Jeanette Curtis wants to know if you are on Patreon.
I do have a Patreon page, and there's a link below the video where you can actually join. Go over to my Patreon page and join. And there's different levels. So like Nisa she's in the gold level. So she contributes $30 a month, but at the end of the year, after 12 months, she gets a free $360 painting. So she's getting her money back at the end of the 12 months. So I try to do things like that to give you incentive. And I do a special video each month strictly for my Patreon people. So I'm pulling up a Christmas cactus right now. Ooh, that's pretty. So they're kind of in sections. I tell you what, I'll try to do a combination of what a Christmas cactus looks like and do the swiping as well with it. So we'll attempt that and see what happens. So let's start then with the greens. Oh, I know, I was going to also, so I've got this rich espresso, which is Deco Art, and it's kind of a bronze color. It's a metallic that's a little bit more brown. So I'm just going to kind of randomly go with my shape, just in general, just to give me a little bit of an idea of flow, to give me, you know, a direction to do my painting. It could even represent, you know, a twiggy part of the thing or whatever. Thank you, Laura, for your donation. Okay, and then I'm going to use, this is a metallic, well, it's kind of a brassy color. It's a brassy gold. And I'm going to go over this just a little bit. I'm not trying to make it look specific because it's basically going to end up being covered for the most part. It just kind of gives me a central focal piece to kind of work with. So I'm going to use, I think, the darkest green for my leafy part or the cactus part or whatever. So I'm going to try one before I do a whole bunch of them just to get it the way I feel, you know, works. So I got the darker green, then the medium green, the sour apple, which is, you know, kind of a limey green, and a little bit of the yellow, the primary yellow. And I'm going to use this is my palette knife that's an oval shape. I'm going to try it first. So after I swipe, I wipe my tool off. I'm going to do this one in 2 swipes. Okay, so I got the general feel of that. So there was plenty of dark green. So then we're just going to go randomly. It's kind of easier if you know what you're going to do to go ahead and just put it down instead of switching your bottles each time. And then you can always go back and add in filler later on. So then you do your medium green. And so I might want to go in on some of them and go out on some of them. So I'm even varying which side I put the lighter green on. And maybe I'll throw in some emerald green on just a few of the leaves, just to add something a little bit different. Just a pop of it. Then my sour apple. So my favorite things to swipe with when I'm trying to control it on a little bit smaller scale.
Tracy Smith says, just got here, what are you painting on so glossy? And Laura donated up to the $5
Thank you.
paint tube, so.
Thank you, Laura. So this is a 20 by 20 inch canvas, and I have a skim coat of white Artist Loft Flow acrylic paint, 1:1 ratio with Floetrol. No silicone in it, but I do add water. I always add water to any of my Artist Loft colors. Okay, now I'm going to put my little touch of yellow. And the yellow just gives it some contrast, and it gives it a little bit of pop. So here we go. And it's a very light touch. And if you go down to the canvas, you can kind of bang it, and it'll kind of put that paint back on from your palette knife. But then I wipe it before I go to the next one. Thank you, Janet, for the donation. It's greatly appreciated. So like Christmas cactuses would have little thingies that come off of them, so I guess I could technically do that as well. But see how on here it's even bleeding out because I have a lot of paint. So let me see if I can show you that. That area right there, it's kind of bleeding a bit. I don't want to tilt it because then I'll mess up my wreath's shape. Let me zoom back out. So this is with the palette knife. So let me try one with my card and just see what happens. So you can kind of, with the card, you can kind of extend your swipes a little bit with it. Because you have a little bit more of that wrist action, you can kind of control it a little bit better. I'm also dripping, and I can take care of that in a little bit. But so it gives a little bit different effect, but it's pretty still. And now see if I go with the yellow over the darker green, then you get more of the yellow. Or if you start with the dark green and go over the yellow, it's going to have more of the green, like that. So you can even vary which way you swipe as to which color dominates. Hey, Valerie. This brassy color is very sparkly. It's really pretty. So I'm going to come this way on this one. And when you're swiping, you can't have things in your way or it'll cut your hand off from swiping all the way out.
Rosa asked, could you tell me the trade name of the paintings? I had to translate that using Google Translate, so.
The brand, do you want to know the brand of the paint? The canvas is just what I pick up at Michael's. I think Artist Loft makes them, and so Artist Loft carries all the products for Michael's. It's strictly a product that Michael's uses. You can use any brand of canvas. Any brand of paint you want. That, I don't think that really matters overall. You can use craft paint, you can use tube paint. So I'm going to do some more filler where I feel like I need some other leaves. I don't like the spikiness on that one, so I'm just going to go over it with my palette knife and change it up a little bit.
And Patty Paps wants to know if you ever use a Lazy Susan.
I have used a Lazy Susan when I've done like a sink strainer pour, but I haven't had much luck. I'm not super coordinated yet. So I'm going to work on those techniques. So I do have a Lazy Susan. So I'm going to add just a little bit more of green.
Valerie thinks Rosa might have been asking the name of the technique.
This is not necessarily a technique per se. It's just what I call swiping with intention. So what that means is I'm trying to get it to feel like something other than just a random pour is the best way I can describe it. And there's going to be a painting expo, the first ever painting expo for acrylic pouring in Orlando at the end of August in 2019, and I'm going to be one of the instructors there. And that is what I'm going to teach in the classes, is pouring with intention. So we're going to do one that's like an abstract, more of an abstract one. We're going to do one that's feathery with the different colors and swipe techniques. We're going to do just different art styles of pouring instead of just straight out pours. So I'm going to use my palette knife for these just to make them a little bit more controlled. And that pouring expo is going to be in Orlando. I don't know if I mentioned that or not.
What's it called, do you know?
It's going to be the International Pouring Expo. If you're in my group on Facebook, I posted a link, several links about it, that they're going to post classes the 1st of December, and then they're going to open up registration on the 1st of January. And it's going to be August 30th through September 2nd in Orlando, which is great because I'll get to go down and see some Orlando friends. Jill Jackson, my moderator in my Facebook group, lives not too far from there. Nisa, who's watching, lives there, close by. So that's going to be just really awesome to be able to meet people that watch my videos and who we get to share our paintings and everything with. It's really kind of cool.
Margaret wants to know, she said she may have missed it, but did you add anything to your paint?
The paint mixture is 1:1 with Floetrol or Owatrol. And this is Deco Art paint. Deco Art paint does not require added water, but if you use tube paint, you will have to add water to get the right consistency. So I always do 1:1, and I've got a little spot here I had to scrape out some yellow. So I'm just going to put some white back in with my squeeze bottle. So now is going to be the fun part.
Patty says that I would like to be able to change swiping angles, not to spin. And I almost dropped the painting while turning it around, just thought about Lazy Susan.
Yeah, you could definitely do this on a Lazy Susan and turn it to where you're at a comfortable angle with your, if you're right-handed, if you like it to do it a certain direction.
Laura Patton says she's in Orlando as well and looking forward to the expo.
Awesome.
Paula Willis says she lives in Cape Canaveral.
Hey, Kukana in Hawaii. Okay, now we're going to put some red on here. So I'm gonna pull out.
Is there any silicone in them?
Yes, there is
Any?
a drop of silicone per ounce of paint mixture. So this is an 8-ounce bottle. If I have 8 ounces of paint, which would be 4 ounces of paint, 4 ounces of Floetrol, that's 8 ounces of paint mixture, I would have 8 drops of silicone in it. And I shake them. I shake them all the time. So you don't have to worry about whether you shake them or not. You're free to shake them because the key with this kind of swiping technique is you're getting small cells and lacing. So, let me show you up close. You're getting that lacing and the small cell kind of effect. So now we're going to put down some colors for the flowers. And I think I'm going to use my palette knife for the flowers, but I'm not sure. I'm going to see how they look. But what I want to do, I also have alizarin crimson. So it's kind of like a deep burgundy color. So we're going to start in just one area and experiment. And see, I haven't used this one in a while, so you got to mix it, shake it up. This one's very liquidy. So it just made one big blob. So, okay, now I'm going to do the red. And like I said, because I put so much white on here, that's why the canvas looks glossy. It's probably too much white paint, and I tried to get some of it off, but it's still there. So, let me see what happens. If I just use my palette knife. I don't even know how many petals the poinsettia has. That looks like a starfish. I don't want it looking like a starfish. So I'm going to add more red. I'm going to put a little orange here. Just a little bit. So like I said, the white is really fluid, so it makes your paint really sell up a lot because there's no silicone in the white.
Poinsettias can have anywhere from 5 to 12 petals. This holiday flower is named for Joel Roberts Poinsettia, the first U.S. minister to Mexico. How about that?
So I'm just going to keep layering it up a little bit. Thank you, Greg. Greg has given me poinsettia advice here. So I'm going to keep layering. Put a little orange because it just gives it a little bit of warmth. So I'm kind of like going between petals that I already did. So that's not too bad. I really don't want as much white showing through, but I can't help that because the white is there. So I'm going to just go around and add some blossoms, petals here and there. Put this alizarin crimson. I'll do it more in the center. I wanted a darker center, and I'll come back and add that as well.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, what?
I'm going to call time out for a second. So here is our granddaughter's, second granddaughter's.
So our daughter-in-law is revealing right now. They're going to have a little girl. So we're going to be grandparents again, and we're having another little girl in our family. I'm going to try this with a straw and see what happens. So that's a little deeper, but I'm not so sure that I love it. So I'm just going to keep adding like I did. Put a little alizarin crimson towards the center where it wants to be darker. And I'm barely skimming the surface of this as well. You do not want to go down to the canvas. You're just skimming on top of the layer of paint. So, and I think I'm just gonna go in with my bottle and do some shapes too. Just fill it in. That gives it a little bit more depth. Just kind of use it and outline it, make it look kind of like petals. And it will sink down on the other colors too. Yeah, so Greg's son is deployed in Kuwait right now. He's in the Army. And he is gone while his wife, our daughter-in-law, is pregnant. And she's in Texas and we're in North Carolina. She'll be coming to stay with us for a few weeks on December 13th. So she'll be bringing Arizona, which is our granddaughter that we already have, their little girl, and then she's pregnant again. So she's having another girl. Let's see, I'm going to do some orange on top of that alizarin crimson. And now my red. I'm just going to come out and do some red straight out with the bottle. And then swipe just a little bit. So I'm putting this on pretty thick. The great part about swiping like this is it dries pretty quickly. It's not like your typical pour. It's going to dry pretty much overnight. Got a piece of fur, cat hair. Cat hair in my white paint. Imagine that.
What are those called? The things that come out of the middle of the flower?
The stamens?
Yeah, they're yellow.
Yeah, I'm going to do stamens, but I'm going to wait till the very end.
Laura says don't forget the yellow berries, and Valerie said, aren't they green?
Yeah, I think they're a little bit green, and then they have a little bit of a yellow on top of them.
Laura says not in the picture I just looked at. Kathy says congratulations and thank your son. And Lucy says you're too young to be grandparents.
I just turned 55, so I don't feel super young. Yesterday I was going to paint the wall outside of my shop. I've got a bright orange that I'm going to paint it, and my knees were killing me. So I told Greg I'm not going to do it today. I'll have to do it another day. So I still have to paint a wall, and it's probably about 14 or 15 feet tall. And so I've got me a little bit of an exercise to paint that wall. And actually that red looks really pretty over the deep green. I tell you what, I'm going to put a little deep green that makes it a hint darker underneath. That's kind of pretty. I actually like that. I'm going to do that over here too. Kind of go around it with some darker green. So that gives it a little bit more depth. So I'm basically just building up my dots from darker to lighter, and then very gently bringing out a petal. And I'm sure some of you can do just as pretty, if not prettier, paintings than this. To me, this is like kind of easy to do. So I'm kind of starting with 4 or 5 petals, and then I'm coming back in between those petals again. So alizarin crimson, red, orange. So I don't know if you got, I think everybody got to see the painting, the video I did of the swipe with the yellow azaleas on it. Nisa ended up buying that, so I've got to ship it to her, but it turned out really pretty. I was really pleased with it. And I got drips, so I'm just putting my finger in to take the drips out that I'm making a mess with. So I'm going to go back here because this one is lighter and I don't care for the way the petals have kind of come out. I'm going to go back over it again. That's the good thing about swiping, is you can kind of swipe over it as long as you're keeping it gentle. Hey, Kate Jackson. So here we go again. I'm going to bring in some of that green with it. And that just puts a little depth underneath that red, which it makes it prettier. That one is probably my favorite one for some reason. Okay, so now I want to do, I think I'm going to do a little bit of black, just to get it dark in the center a little bit. I'm just going to do some little dots. And this is not like specifically poinsettias exactly. This is not supposed to be realistic looking. It's just playing, having fun, swiping, just enjoying what you do. So I think, let me see what the emerald green looks like on top of the black. That doesn't look too bad. It kind of pops. So I'm going to do the emerald green on top of the black. So I'm just doing little drops, and they're going to spread out probably. But the green contrasts against that red because they're the opposite on the color wheel, so it kind of makes it pop.
Marlene said she sold all her swipes. She did an auction last week and sold 7.
Awesome, Marlene. That's great. I've never done an auction before.
Marlene says the black is nice. It gives a nice contrast.
Yeah, it just gives it a little bit of a shadowed effect.
They're going to spread out probably.
Well,
But the green contrast against that red because
technical difficulty. I unplugged my headphone.
My husband, I tell you what. So there's the emerald green, and now I'm going to do the yellow on top. So this is what I love about my squeeze bottles that I use. This is kind of a dirty, but it's a small opening. So like these are the cheap bottles, and they have a bigger opening. And the nice bottles with the screw-on lids have a small opening. So that's what I love about these squeeze bottles, is you can have more control for doing things like this. And those bottles are under my Amazon. They're in the Amazon link below my video too. And there are like 8 of them for maybe $12 or so. They're not super expensive, and they're well worth it. So I think to do it a little bit more modern, funky looking.
So Tammy Reese says, I would love to see you put gold or silver ribbon in and through the wreath and flowers, possibly a bow of sorts.
Oh, I forgot one of the flowers.
Nisa says she got to go. Company just showed up.
Oh no, Nisa, you can catch me later. Thank you for coming and watching. What I'm going to do, I've got some black in a small bottle, and you can find these at Hobby Lobby, and they may even be on my Amazon link, I'm not sure. Now I'm going to see.
Patty Pap says, looks beautiful, such talent.
I'm going to outline them. So some of the black is going to sink and everything. But that kind of makes it pop too.
And Devonish says, looks gorgeous.
Thank you. So I'm trying to do this quickly so y'all don't have to sit here and just wait.
218 says beautiful.
Thank you. So I'm really looking forward to my grand opening in Sanford. I have a gallery space.
Kathy DePaulo says outline is perfect.
Thank you, Kathy.
Valerie Smith says, I don't usually like poinsettias, but this is stunning.
I'm not really a poinsettia girl either. It's kind of like an imaginary abstract is the kind of way I look at it. So now the paint in this bottle does not have Floetrol or silicone in it. It's just black paint.
Patty Pap says, I just hit my husband up about Orlando this summer.
Yeah, so I'm bringing some of the petals into the center, and then some are kind of like layered behind a little bit. So you kind of like, you skip every other petal and you make it come all the way to the middle.
Mylene says you nailed it. Tammy says that really makes the red pop out. You're an amazingly talented artist. Love you so much for your encouragement.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Whoa, that came out too fast. So I'm just kind of making imaginary shapes. Like I need another petal right there.
Amy Thompson says this has a perfect retro fit. Love it. Or retro feel. Love it. Angie says you're such an inspiration. I can tell you have a wonderful soul. Margaret says, does it matter if you use matte or satin paint? I have some that say both and some with no indication of either.
I don't think it matters on matte or satin as far as doing a pour. What's going to happen is when it dries, it's whether if you like the matte look or if you want to varnish it anyway. So it doesn't, I don't think it matters about what, if it's matte or glossy or satin. I don't pay attention because some different brands are shinier than others. So you could use both, and when it dries, if you use the matte paint, when it dries, it's not going to have any shine to it at all. So if that's what you're aiming for, then by all means go for it and use the matte paint. I don't ever buy matte paints, but a lot of craft paint will come out kind of flat looking anyway. See, like this is spreading out. It's because my white is so fluid, and that's why it's spreading. If I'd have done this on almost a dry canvas, I would have a little bit more control about the way things are spreading. So I'm going to come back here and put a little white in because I put my finger there to take a little bit off.
Valerie says she's found that if you're not careful with matte, it can crack easier.
So Valerie says that matte cracks easier, so you might need to be careful with the matte paint.
And Kate asked, do you make cards as well as prints? Not yet, but we'll start.
I don't technically make cards, but like I'm on Redbubble, and on Redbubble you can look at any of my designs and they usually will offer a card, but you pay for them per card. It's not like a set. It's by individual price. But that's just the way they have it set up. I can't change that to make it different. So, now my question is,
Eureka Lopez says hi.
Eureka? Hey Eureka.
Mylene says she doesn't use matte.
Yeah, I don't think most people use matte paint, but
Kate
some
Jackson
people
thinks this would be a really good Christmas card.
Some people use house paint, and house paint oftentimes is kind of a matte. If you get mixed house paint, usually it's often matte, so I assume it works, you know. So let's see.
Mylene says she uses Liquitex High Gloss Varnish and apply 3 coats.
Yes, I use Liquitex High Gloss Varnish too. I don't like the way my leaves have spread out. I'm going to go in and just put in some darker leaves here and there. Kind of like filler.
Valerie says I use glue all in my Owatrol in all my paints except base paints. It really helps.
So my next pour that I'm going to do, I've got glue all in it. And it's going to be a dirty pour, kind of the way the Waterfall Acrylics, the way Karen does hers. I want to try to do that. I've never done it kind of the way that she does it. So I am going to give it a try here after this one. So I think I'm going to do the emerald green in here a little bit and not put yellow in these. Just switch it up a little bit. I'm still going to swipe it just a little, but I'm hoping that the darker green will be more substantial in these. Now I'll do some sour apple. The good thing with squeeze bottles is you can kind of go fast too if you need to. Okay.
Audrey says how about some red berries and pine cones? And adding some red berries. Valerie adds on that it adds good elasticity to the dried paints when she's talking about glue all and Owatrol.
The only thing about the glue all is I wonder how it lasts over time. That's what I'm worried about. That's what I don't know enough about glue all to know if it lasts. So that's my question. Does it last? So I used to be a decorative artist for almost 20 years, and I did a lot of faux finishes in people's homes, lots and lots of rooms, and Floetrol was what I used with my wall paint to make my glaze. So I have used Floetrol for years. So I like that better with the darker leaves. I'm going to stick one about right here. And, oh, you know what, I could have even put red in. Let me just try a little bit of red with the green, see what happens. And I see one that I missed. I'm going to stick a little red here just to see how they swipe. Ooh, that's pretty too. Ooh, that's pretty. Okay, now I've got to go back and put red in a few of the leaves. I like that.
The question amongst most artists, most agree the lasting has mostly to do with how it's sealed.
Okay. So I'm just adding a little red into some of these leaves. See, I can go back over a leaf I've already swiped, and if I'm just gentle, I can go right back over it. The red gives it a little bit of depth, which is kind of nice. So I actually really like that.
Carrie Easley says, I watched a couple of ladies who use Owatrol and glue all and water as their pouring mediums. So Owatrol, glue all, and water.
So we're doing a little bit of a gold accent. So I'm going to see.
Angie says, I normally don't care for red and green together, but this is really pretty.
Well, you know, red and greens are opposite on the color wheel. So anytime you use complementary colors of each other like that, they really kind of make each other pop.
Rosa would like to know, what do you mostly like to use on your finished paintings?
I always use Liquitex High Gloss Varnish. That is my varnish of choice. I have used Minwax Polyacrylic, but I've heard a lot of people say that it cracks sometimes. So I just prefer to get the Liquitex High Gloss Varnish, and I get it on Amazon. They have the best prices to me. You can get it at Michael's and different places, but it's going to be really expensive, and even with a coupon, you're still going to pay too much. So to me, Amazon has the best prices on Liquitex High Gloss Varnish. So we'll do some red berries. That one kind of went.
Marlene says, I like to experiment with colors. And Audrey says, I like the gold swirls. And Marlene says Amazon is much cheaper.
I love Amazon. Okay, so I'm going to do some red over the alizarin crimson, just to give it a little bit of color change. But as you see, some of them are not staying round. It just depends on what they're against. But that's okay. Now, I'm going to take my white and just do a little dot, and that will be the reflection.
So Angie says, I just switched to Liquitex varnish after a cracking disaster, and she loves it. Tiffany Fendora says, hey pretty lady, your witnessing and sharing of your life is as uplifting and inspiring just as much as your fabulous art.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Tiffany.
Rose asked, do you ever resin your finished paintings?
I do not resin. I have used resin, but with resin, you have to worry about health issues, You have to have a dust-free environment. It's very messy. You have to be able to cover it and leave it, and it is beautiful, and I have done it, but it's not my preference because of the way you have to work with it, but it is beautiful. I do love the look of resin, no doubt. I'm going to go back in and try to cover up some of that bleeding, but I don't know.
Laura Patton says, watching Bob Ross, you're just as fascinating.
Thank you.
Go to your happy place.
Yeah, I'm in my happy place for sure.
Ooh. I like the reflections on the berries.
So see the little white dots? Those kind of look like a reflection. I could even do the white dots on the yellow, and it just gives another little bit of dimension.
Is it Jill Jackson is the resin queen?
Jill Jackson, the moderator in my Facebook group, she does resin on everything, and so does Nisa in Florida. But they resin everything, and they're like experts at it. So if you ever have any questions about resin, Jill Jackson in my Facebook group is the one to ask about it, or Nisa. Nisa had to get offline because she had a company coming, but her name is N-E-Y-S-A, but it's pronounced Nisa. So they use resin all the time. So I've got a little bleeding going on, and what I'll do is after this dries, I will, you know, clean up some of my little shapes for the berries because they're making their own little shapes. And I really don't mind that, to be honest. It's kind of okay. I could even go as far as putting a tiny little black dot with this more fine bottle here. I can go in and put in just a little bit of a line, a curved line, and it kind of makes the berries look like they have a little bit of a shadow. Plus it brings in that black accent. Oh, that's another thing, that Nisa loves ladybugs, and I do too. So that's one of the things I want to paint, is do a swipe or something and do leaves with ladybugs. I love ladybugs.
Ann M says, good day from south of Sydney, Australia.
Hey, Ann.
Your artwork is amazing. I love the butterflies you do. This one is awesome.
Hey, Carrie Easley.
Yeah, Carrie Easley is talking about all the times that the delivery guy just comes to their house because he doesn't even look at the names on the packages.
So you get lots of deliveries. I want to do something. I'm going to see. I'm going to put a little black here too. Just very sparingly. So I'm not doing like a solid outline. Just giving it a little bit of black accents. I actually like black a lot in accents and in colors, mixed with colors. So I'm just doing a little bit of black here and there. And see, already the edges are starting to dry. Because you're swiping paint, you're really kind of thinning the layers of paint out, so it does dry a lot quicker than a regular traditional pour. I like the black. I like the black added in.
So Rose says, I'm trying to learn as much as I can. Hope to get into painting full time in January. Any advice on getting a start on YouTube would be appreciated. And Angie says, I just bought some Ryder bottles after hearing you talk about them so favorably. Anxious to try them out.
Yes, I like Ryder bottles. You can control them. You can even wait till your painting is dry and then go in and do accents and add swirls and lines and dots and all kinds of fun things with brighter bottles. You have a little bit more control, so it's kind of cool that way.
And Valerie says, stay at it, Rose. Don't give up when you get frustrated. It takes a while. I'm only at 55 subscribers, but just keep plugging away.
Yeah, if you're fairly new, I think the best thing to do is just to watch different people, because you learn different things from each artist that creates. Like Julie Cutts does beautiful, beautiful large swipes. Gina DeLuca does beautiful, beautiful work. She's a very talented artist. When I started watching, I watched Anne-Marie Ritterhoff from Holland, and she is fantastic, a teacher. She's great. So I'm going to bring this up to you. So it doesn't, it's not realistic looking, but it's cheerful. It's kind of Christmassy. I like it. And there's the berries in the middle, even though they're kind of changing their shapes. After it's dried, I can go back with white and outline them better. But I think I'm done with this one. Yeah, this has to be level or it will...
That's the way you had it.
You have to have these pins up on the counter. Okay, I'm grabbing one more canvas. I was going to go with a 12-inch, but I decided I'm going to go big on my next one. So this one is going to be an attempt to kind of look like Karen's pours from Waterfall Acrylics. And I used kind of her recipe. She didn't have like a specific recipe. It was kind of a recipe. So she said that she used glue wall and water, like, 1-to-1 ratio. So she mixed her glue in, added the water, mixed it up, and then she said you could add some GAC 800. And so, what I did was I did glue all 1-to-1 with water. So that's a 4-ounce bottle, so 4 ounces of glue all, 4 ounces of water. I put about an ounce or 2 of GAC 800, which is supposed to lower your chances of cracking and crazing. And then I added an ounce or 2 of this Liquitex Basics Gloss Fluid Medium. Some people use this to varnish their paintings with, but I don't. I use the Liquitex High Gloss Varnish. This is, to me, it's more of a fluid medium to add to pours or, whatever to use as, to extend your paint. I would not use it as a varnish, personally. So, on this one, let me scoot my bottles out of the way. So I mixed all that into a container, and then I used deep red, metallic red, vermilion, light magenta. I've got the black. I have this was Craft Smart. This is Vintage Gold, and I love this shade of gold. It's kind of a warm orangey gold, which I really love that color. So I've got a lot of oomph, a lot of power here with these colors. And then I'm going to throw into the mix, this is phthalocyanine green and the black. And so what she does, if I kind of watched her correctly, this is kind of what I think she does. Actually, I'm going to use the bigger cups. Maybe not. I'm going to do 4 cups. And this is where she layers them. She layers them up in the cups and tries to keep them all fairly even. The one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a drop of silicone in each cup just for the fun of it. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to take my napkin and just kind of run it around the inside of the cup so that the inside of your cup has just a very light layer of silicone, which will help the paint not stick to the edges of the cup inside as much. So I'm going to do a little bit of black. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So you can see just a little bit up close what I'm doing. So I'm going to take red, and I'm trying to pour basically about the same amounts into each cup. And I'm going to try to layer them. I'm trying not to have them go like this is a dirty pour, but I'm trying not to let the layers of color sink down. You want to kind of keep them in a layered on top of each other kind of effect. That's what I'm aiming for. So she kind of does, just light layers. So I'm trying to do that as well. This is just something different from what I normally do, but I liked her technique and I wanted to see if I could do it. I think it's always challenging to try to do something that you like of someone's, style, until you find your own style that you love. So I'm going to do some orange. Well, it's not orange, it's vermilion. And again, I'm not letting it sink in. I'm trying to lightly layer it on top. So this is going to be a 4-cup flip. And who knows what it's going to turn out like. Now I'll do the deeper red. So I'm just layering up. I think I'll do some more black. Whoops, I don't want it to sink down, so you gotta be kind of gentle with it. Now I'm going to use some gold. I can watch people for hours on YouTube. I don't know about y'all, but I just love to sit and watch people create and to see what their style is like and how that, how it turns out. I'm always very fascinated by that.
Laura Patton wants to know, do you have a favorite brand of paint, Artist Loft, Liquitex, or Master's Touch?
I don't use Master's Touch as much because I generally get most of my stuff at Michael's. And Master's Touch is a Hobby Lobby brand. So I don't use as much of that, but I generally use Liquitex Basics and Artist Loft. And then if you see my videos, if they have a DA at the beginning of them, that means I use Deco Art. so I switch off and I use craft paints, and then I switch off and I'll do tube paints, or I'll even combine the two together. So I'm pretty much trying to fill all these cups up. I think I'll do some more red on the green.
Tiffany Fendora asks, how often do people recognize you on the street now that you're in the big leagues and YouTubers?
I don't ever see people on the streets that recognize me. That's funny.
I'm gonna butcher this name, but Zaida says, I love your paintings. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. Zeta? Is it Zeta? I think.
I don't know. I'm sorry if I said it wrong.
I was going to put white in, but I forgot. And all of these paints have that kind of recipe with the glue wall, the GAC 800, the Liquitex Gloss Medium, and I put a drop of silicone per ounce of color mixture. The trick is going to be on this one is to kind of do it the way she does her wrist action when she flips her cup. It's just really kind of cool, and I'm terrible with flipping cups. I'm pretty messy with them. Let's see. I'll do the gold. Orange. So I'm filling these things up to the brim, and these are, let me look and see what size cups they are. They're at least 7 ounces. They may be 9 ounces. These are 7-ounce cups. So I've got 28 ounces of paint. This is a 20 by 20. I'm going to zoom back out so you can see the full canvas. Okay, let's see what happens. And I appreciate any donations, because obviously this takes money to do this, and time to edit the videos and all that. This is a dry canvas. I did not put anything on the canvas. She doesn't usually put a wet layer of paint down first. So I'm starting basically with a dry canvas.
Michelle Robertson, first time coming on. So cool. Love your creativity.
Thank you.
Valerie says it's her first time too. Watched her do many times, but finally caught her live.
I got my yellow. I'm gonna put a little yellow right on the top. It's gonna.
Zaida says, yes, you've read my name correctly.
Zeta. Okay, I think I've maxed out my paints. I'm scared I won't have enough, but anyway, here we go. The flipping is the hard part. Let me do it over here. This is a challenge not to make a huge mess. Okay. This is where she sits and she waits for it. So I'm going to let it sit for a few minutes. And it's going to hopefully be filled up. I'm hoping to fill up the whole canvas is my wish, as I'm trying to fill up the canvas. Thank you, Tammy, for your donation. I appreciate it. So while these are sitting, I'll just go back through the colors really fast. I used Craft Smart Black and Craft Smart Vintage Gold, which I love this color. I love this gold. And then I used Artist Loft Light Magenta, Vermilion, which looks like orange, Metallic Red, Deep Red, and Phthalocyanine Green. And I will list these colors below the video. If you want to go back later and reference the colors, I will have them listed. And everybody that donates will give you a free digital download of any piece of the artwork that you'd like to have. We usually like to at least give you a digital download for the contribution. Sometimes I give away a free print to the one that has donated the most money in a live feed. So if you'd like a free print, you can consider that. So I'm just banging on my cups, but I think they're probably about ready. So what she does is she grabs them like this, and she brings them down and releases it. So I'm going to try it, and I may look like really like a nerd. Who knows what it's going to look like.
Well done, good job. That's the scary part. You did it good.
Woo!
I would have had that everywhere. Kelly asked, could you add Floratrol and silicone to interior paint and get lacing?
Yes.
If you swipe white, black up from the baseboard.
Yes, you can. You can use wall paint and Floratrol and use silicone or OGX in it. And a lot of people use wall paint for their colors.
Eileen says you're good to remember to wait. I watch Karen too. I love her look. Nice composition. It's scary to roll the cups down like she does.
That was the part I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to cover the canvas. We'll see. Get some of my bottles out of the way.
Kelly says Tammy Reese says, I definitely want a digital to read. Kelly wants to know, would it work on a vertical wall?
Vertically, I don't think so. I mean, you know, everything's going to go down. So you're not going to have cells. It's just going to be streaks. You could try it. You could try it on a canvas and do it vertically and see what happens. But a vertical surface is going to be so different from a flat surface. You're not going to get the same effect. So here we go. I should have not used as much black as I did. So the thing that she does is she's very patient with her pour. She doesn't rush it. And she moves it very slowly and gently. So I'm going to try to keep that in mind because I have a tendency to want to do things quickly. But I think if you give it time, it gives the cells a chance to kind of grow. I'm going to torch it.
Kelly DePaulo says, Sandra, that's intense. You feeling the pressure?
No, I don't feel pressure. I feel happy. I love doing this. When I'm doing acrylic pouring, I'm not thinking about anything but this, which is the great part of it. And you shouldn't stress yourself out over doing pours. I know some people get stressed, but I look at it as just playing and just having a good time and just waiting to see what creation, you know, we can come up with. So to me, it's fun. So there's a lot of paint on here. So I'm just going to move very softly. I'll tell you what, I'm going to use my palette knife and fill in the gaps so I don't have to worry about that. And I try not to stir it, because if you stir it, you're going to end up with mud. You know, sometimes we worry about our corners, so I'm going to, since these are darker, I'm going to put them in the corner areas. Anne-Marie Ritterhoff is so good at using her palette knife to take her paint and move it around. She is just really good with that. But if you let it drift off your palette knife and try not to mix it, you'll have better luck with the leftover paint. But as you can see, everything in the bottoms of the cup are kind of darker, because I started with the black on the bottom. So that's why the black is pretty predominant, because it was on the bottom. Whatever's on the bottom is going to come out last. Okay. I had one gold paint that I was going to mix up for y'all, and I totally forgot about it. It's sitting here. Oh well. So now I'm going to gently move it. And this doesn't look anything like Karen's on Waterfall Acrylics, but it is kind of her style, the way she swipes, does her dirty pours, flip cups, as she calls them. So I'm trying to, she kind of shifts it too. She kind of goes back and forth. So I'm going to try to stretch it this way a little bit, because all the heaviness of the paint is going to shift. It's going to make everything shift. It's very psychedelic.
Eileen Jake is wondering what time does this end, because she wants to watch it to the end.
This will be my last one. I'm going to use my hand here to try to help it over. Basically, I'm trying to get it to the edges first, and then I can see kind of where I want to stretch it more.
Michelle Robertson is chanting cells, cells, cells.
Yeah.
Eileen says beautiful cells in contrast. Mylene says that looks lovely.
Thank you. So basically, I'm just trying to get some paint over here, so I don't have to tilt it a whole lot. But then I'm going to let it stretch over. But the paint will help it move a little better.
Audrey says it's very similar to Karen's. It looks great. And Carrie, is that a big old eyeball in the upper right hand corner? The one you just covered up, I think?
I don't know. Okay, I want to go to that dark corner there.
Oh, you know what, Carrie? I see a person's face, like an old man's face right there in that right side.
Ooh.
Do you see it? Oh, you moved it. Never mind. It's gone.
Yeah, see, I'm trying to get it to the corners. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it around so I have better control that way.
Valerie says that's a lot of colors. Pretty colors.
It is. It's psychedelic. And be proud of me because I used glue all, which I don't typically want to use.
Carrie says, thank you, that was creepy. So I think...
So I'm going to take some of the paint from the puppy pad and put it on here as it's shifting. That way I have more of a choice of where I want to tilt it. And I'm going to do this corner. This one is fun, y'all. I love doing pours. Okay, now we're going to tilt and get rid of some of these dark corners. Come on. I don't want to lose that hot pink though.
What ratio of glue all to paint, and did you use another medium as well? Michelle Robertson.
I used 4 ounces of glue with 4 ounces of water. So it was a 1-to-1 ratio of glue to water first. Then I added probably a couple of ounces of Liquitex Basics Gloss Medium. And then I added about an ounce or so of the GAC 800, the Golden GAC 800. Okay, now we can kind of get it back in the center. Like her cells are usually just so big and round. But this has got some cells going on now.
So Monica Camarago Moral in
Monica.
Brazil.
Hey there, Monica from Brazil. My favorite part is this right here with the green against the reds. That's my favorite part. Let me show you.
Anne is wondering how long it takes for all that paint to dry.
Because it's winter and the house is a little cooler, it will probably take 3 days, 2 to 3 days. If it were summertime, it would take a day to 2 days. This is on pretty thick.
Hoda, sorry I missed the beginning of the session for me, as I have no experience for mixing colors. So to try my first trial, must it be mixed with resin or can it be mixed with water?
Art is a different thing from this. This is strictly acrylic paint mixed with a medium. And I typically use Floetrol or Owatrol. This time I used glue all. I used someone else's recipe. But you add a medium to your paints and that's what makes it flow together. And then if you add the drops of silicone, that's what makes these nice big cells. We call these cells, all these round shapes. So I'm just making sure all my edges are covered.
Yeah, Valerie says it's taken 3 days for her paintings to dry.
Yeah, in the wintertime it definitely takes longer. I'm pretty pleased with this.
Do you have Hoda? Do you have resin videos on yours?
I have resined 1 or 2 pieces, but I don't prefer to use resin. It's so much harder to work with.
So Valerie Smith says she has resin videos on hers. So.
Yeah, there's other people that have resin videos. Valerie does. Valerie Smith Art, and Jill Jackson, who's the moderator in my Facebook group. Her name on her YouTube channel is Sister Earth. She does resin all the time, but she does regular acrylic paintings like this, regular pours, and she lets it dry and she seals it with resin. So she uses resin as a top coat. I use varnish because it's water-based, and resin is not water-based. And with resin, you have to have a dust-free environment, and you have to kind of leave it covered. So you just have to have, the right environment for resin. I'm going to do my torch one more time.
Linda says it's awesome, Sandra. Gwen Robertson says love it. Hoda does say thanks, guys. Valerie Smith says that turned out really pretty.
I do like this a lot.
Linda says beautiful, Sandra, with a hearty.
So I'll have to do another one like this at a later point in time and use my Floetrol or Owatrol and use OGX and just see if it has any different effect. But the flip cup thing was a good way to cover your canvas. I used 4 cups, so about 28 ounces. And for a regular 20 by 20 canvas, if you look at the chart, I have a chart in my Facebook group. A 20 by 20 takes, I think it said 20 ounces of paint. I can't remember for sure, but I had 28 ounces. So I had extra because I wanted to make sure the sides were covered and I didn't have to, try to get it to stretch. But it's really cool. There's like little cells inside of cells, and it's very colorful, and the black definitely took over. I'm curious how this would have looked with white even. Like all these colors with white. I wonder if it had been really colorful and popped. So that's another thing I'd like to experiment with. But I really do. I love cells, so there's parts of this that I really love. I love the contrast of the greens and reds and orange. The hot pink, the pink is kind of I didn't have the right color. I wanted to go with like a deep magenta, but I've got all my paints boxed up and I couldn't get to them. So this is a light magenta. So I would have liked to have seen something a little bit different than the hot pink, but it's okay. And as
Marie says, turned out very nice. I like it. Valerie Smith says, am so glad to catch you live. You're fascinating and amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy DePaulo says, thank you, Sandra, for another great lesson. Vidorda says, thank you from Poland. Kelly, matching 20 by 10s on either side would look awesome if the pink and green carried over.
I'm trying to move some of that pink away.
Audrey says, thanks, Sandra. Michelle Robertson, how often do you do live pours and how do you find out when they're happening?
I usually announce the day that I'm going to do it live. I usually announce it on Facebook, on my regular Facebook page, which is Sandra Lett Trumpfeller. But if you just type in Sandra Lett, it'll probably pull my name up. And I announce it in my Facebook group. If you join my Facebook group, you'll see it in there. And I try to do it every once or twice a month. And I may do it more once I get into my studio. With it being Thanksgiving, this is going to be pretty much it until after Thanksgiving for me, because I'm going to have company. I got to cook and do all that stuff, so got to fix my turkey. You can even blow if you see little bubbles.
Carrie says, thank you for the enjoyment tonight. If you could only stay for another hour while my husband watches The Walking Dead.
Oh, I'm not a Walking Dead fan.
Linda says, thank you so much for sharing, Sandra and Greg. This was a nice Sunday evening. Tammy Marie says, what do we do for a week of no new videos to watch? Kim says, thank you from UK.
Well, I do have over 300 videos, so I'm sure you can find some to watch. I'm sure.
Eileen says, thank you, Sandra. You gave me the inspiration to do my own pours with intent, of course.
So you can blow things around and make them larger if you want to. It's just something I'm trying. But it's fun. I like this one. I love color, and so this one turned out pretty cool. I'm pretty pleased with it. Thank you so much for everybody watching. If you donated, we have a list of people that donated, and you will get a free digital download. And the top donator will get a free print from me. So I will put in the comments after the live video is over, I will put the person's name that did the highest donation, and you will have to contact me through my email. The email is sandra@sandralett.com, and that way I'll have an email address and we can contact each other and get your address to mail you a print. The gold is so pretty. It's got that shimmer in a few places. It's really cool. The only part I'm not crazy about is the green with the hot pink as much.
So Michelle Robertson says, thank you very much for sharing your talents. Kathy DePaulo says, happy Thanksgiving to all. Tammy Reese says, I will be looking for videos I have not seen. You get me going every day. God bless you both. Mylene says, Eileen, once you start, you will truly love it.
Also,
Audrey says you can actually eat turkey at your table this year.
Yes, I can. We're going to use this table that I'm pouring on. We're going to use this table to eat dinner on finally. So that'll be very nice. I am going to do a video of the studio once I get it cleaned up and kind of set up. I'm going to do a video of the studio. And also in 2 weeks, on December 1st, is my grand opening in Sanford, North Carolina. And I'm going to do a live video during the grand opening. I'm going to give away a free painting at the grand opening and some art prizes, different things for home decor and that kind of stuff. So that's going to be fun to give away some prizes at the grand opening.
Carrie says, happy Thanksgiving to all from me also. Valerie Smith says, now I have to do a pour. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. God bless.
Okay, here it is. Thank you, Michelle, for the donation. I think Michelle is the top donator, so she'll get the free print.
Laura Patton says, very pretty.
And then my little puppy pad is not straight underneath. I don't typically use puppy pads. I did today because it being a live pour. But typically I don't put puppy pads under my canvas because then they kind of stick to your edges sometimes. You have to be really, really careful. So I think I'm going to move the puppy pad out really quickly. If I don't miss.
Lisa Reinhardt says thank you for sharing, Sandra and Greg.
Woo! I'm tilting. I'm tilting.
Don't tilt, don't tilt. I'd help you, but I don't have gloves.
Oh, okay. It's much better on top of butcher paper. I like butcher paper much better.
Valerie says you should use PayPal. They take less of your money. Just a suggestion.
Yes, you can donate through PayPal. I do have a PayPal link.
Love it. Kisses from Quebec from Zaida.
Thank you, Zeta, for watching from Quebec.
Quebec, Canada. They're a French-speaking Canadian.
Thank you, Laura, Lisa, Valerie, Mylene. I got paint on my arms.
Read off every 60 people that are watching still.
No, I'm not going to read off every name.
Hoda says thanks guys for sharing.
That was so much fun. I'm going to watch it like transform, and I'll put a picture on Facebook and on my website when it's totally dry, but that'll be a few days. So you'll get to see the dried picture. But I'm very pleased with it. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I enjoyed it. I hope you did. I hope you learned something. And I will see you next time. And y'all have a great Thanksgiving week. I really appreciate it. Thanks.